You know, folks, it's starting to happen. I get all kinds of crazy people who want to come on the Grampian, business gurus, famous pilots, celebrities, all kinds. But every once in a while, there's a guy who comes along and he just grabs your attention by one specific characteristic. This guy is just happy. Get ready for Dom.
In 2013, I coined the name Grampian, and I gave it to your host, Jim Tracy.
Hey, Grampian Nation, welcome back. And here we are. I told you guys that this is the dude who just exuded happy. One of the things that caught my eye is one of the lines he uses, because we all have a little bit of a shtick, but his is just kind of epically cool. He says, "From crappy to happy. Welcome, crappy to happy. Dom Brightmon, how are you, my friend?"
I'm doing great, Jim. I'm honored to be here, man.
All right. Well, welcome to the Grampian. Our nation has some questions for you. The first one is, how do you actually go from crappy to happy?
Hey, good question indeed. How do you go from crappy to happy? Well, the good news is you don't have to worry about the good old bathroom. That's not part of it. Oh no, bathroom reading though. Now that I think about it, yeah, bathroom reading. Yeah, it's funny enough. I got an acrostic for it called a Reef, RAVE, and the R stands for reading. Great material. I know you're a fellow author too, and got some
Mhm.
good stuff indeed, helping to motivate folks, inspire folks, and encourage folks to really get back to the foundational principles that really helps us to be the best we can be. So, reading great material. The A for audio immersion. Listening to great material as well that's really going to inspire you, encourage you, heck, even entertain you, because life doesn't always have to be inspiration, motivation to climb Mount Everest and then jump off of the darn mountain, even though that's not how that freaking works. Like sometimes needs some entertainment too. You don't want to be bored all the time.
Right.
And then there's the V for visual stimulation. Whatever you're watching, making sure it's good for you. Like this podcast, it's a double-edged sword for greatness because it's audio and video. So for those who are listening or watching to this wonderful show, like, hey, you're already doing a visual stimulation because our eyes, especially since they're basically the only exterior part of our brain, they absorb images a lot quicker than our ears absorb sound. And the E stands for encouragement, encouraging yourself
Mm,
and other people. Because if you're living and breathing, you need encouragement.
awesome. And you need to be an encourager because it helps when you pass it along, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right indeed. Pass encouragement instead of blunts. That's right.
All right. So I see this guy in the camera and I mean, I'm obviously a white-haired, blue-haired old dude and I've earned some stripes but I look at you, you're an incredibly talented best-selling author. You're a podcaster who's got like significantly more experience than me. You're a Maxwell Institute trainer. Um I mean, what generation do you fall into? Where does all this experience come from in such a young man?
Well, I'm a millennial, and funny thing is, millennials aren't even like the snot-nosed kids that get hated by the greatest generation anymore. It's the Gen Zers, so I'm not exactly spring chicken, but not exactly the newest kid on the block. But yeah, really just standing on the shoulders of giants, and I have my
Yeah.
parents to thank for that. Really.
Okay. So what you're 23 years old and you decide, wow, I've got this depth of experience. Probably a good idea for me to sit down and pen a book. Who does that?
Funny enough, at first it was in reverse. It actually started off as a dare because I was a Toastmaster at the time with Toastmaster International. And for those who don't know, it's a wonderful nonprofit to make yourself a better speaker and leader.
Hmm.
And this was back in 2015, where I was just networking with folks and handing out these reading lists to folks called the 100 Books for Dynamic Living. And
Hmm.
I would put my contact information on the bottom because who the heck hands out a reading list to people instead of business cards at a networking event? Like, hey, that's one way to be memorable. And one fellow attendee, one lady I handed the list to, she looked at the list, looked back at me, looked at the list, looked back at me, and was like, hey, so where's your name on this list, buddy? And I'm like, it's at the bottom, the Dom Brightmon, the 443. She's like, no, I'm not talking about your contact info. Talk about the name of your book. Where you at, buddy? I'm like, man, I'm 22 at the time. Like, the heck am I going to write about? And I was thinking like, hey, I'm still young. Like writing a book, that was something I was going to write decades down the road, like maybe get in my 40s or whatever. And she was like, hey, how about a year from today, you publish a book? And I'm like, huh? What? Me? Like, how the heck am I going to do that? And I was like, nah, I think I'm good. And she's like, hey, how about we both decide to start today writing both of our books and we'll have them published within a year? I'm like, man, that's freaking amazing. Like,
The race
yo,
is on.
yeah, the race is on, and it wasn't on. I didn't even tell anybody to shoot the bang, like make the bang go off for the race. Like, nah, I'm good, fam. And after the conversation shortly ended after that, a couple days later, a fellow Toastmaster told that conversation to about he was a mentor of mine, Sean Purvis, a funny dude, and he basically saw this as an opportunity to get back at me because he too was an author, but he mentioned there was going to be a sequel at the end of his first book that he never released. So he was like, "Hey, how about I go ahead and put a little fire under you?" And out of nowhere, I had to give a Q&A piece for a presentation for a speech I was giving at the time. And at the end, the first person to ask a question was Sean himself. And he's like, hey, Dom, when are you going to write your book? And it was just this long, awkward pause. It felt like 2 hours have passed, but it was probably maybe 30 seconds. It was like the longest 30 seconds probably in my life besides holding a plank. And I was like, yeah, a year from today, I'm going to go ahead and write my book. And a year later, the rest was history. October of 2016, my first ever book, Going North, was published. So sometimes we just need someone to put a fire under our butts to get us going because we
Right
have gifts
on.
that we need to unleash on people.
And tell our audience about the process of writing a book because everybody has kind of a little different slant on it.
Yeah, you're so right. Everybody's different, and everyone's journey is definitely different because the thing was, one of my favorite like keys to share for folks is that a deadline will put a dead end on procrastination because I had a year to get it done and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And on average, if you're going to look for a traditional publisher, like if they accept you, it's usually a 2 year process. So I only had a year, so I couldn't go that route. So I was like, let me go ahead and do the self publishing route, go the indie route. And I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and do that route. And I decided to plan out every single weekend after work, whether it was a Friday, Saturday, or both, to go to a coffee shop and get some writing in. At the top of the page, I'll write down a certain topic. Let's say leadership, write whatever was in my brain at the time about leadership, stories, experiences, like anything that I've read recently that I actually apply in my own life. Like, I mean, write those thoughts down, time management, customer service, like whatever I knew at the time.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'd get a whole page, sometimes 3 pages, sometimes a paragraph. And came time around August 2016 where I was like, okay, it's month 8. I got about 3 months to go before November. I might as well stick with what I got. So a friend of mine, he edited the book. He was a friend of mine from high school. Went to college, got a screenwriting degree. So he ended up editing my book and helped me to polish it up and asked me a couple questions about a couple things and helped me to really add some more things and clarify a couple other things. And after that, got the book cover done through Fiverr.com, a great little wonderful website if you're looking to get some freelance stuff done. Where like today, nowadays, like back in the day, like probably 30 years ago, an indie published book, you probably would tell it's indie published. Nowadays, you can't tell the difference because we have so many great tools these days. And this
Hmm.
was even before AI when the tools were even better today. And I was able to get a great cover done through there. And then after getting the cover done, the editing, the formatting, the interior formatting, and the book was finally done in October that year. And I felt like Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12 after he beat Bret Hart. It was like the boyhood dream was finally
Yeah.
realized. It was like, I feel like the world champion. It was a great feeling seeing my name on the bottom of that book cover when I finally got
Yeah.
the proof copy.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you get that first copy in your hand, it's almost kind of a magical experience, isn't it? You see your name on
Yeah.
the bottom and you're like, uh and then you got to sell them.
Yep, that's the where the real work starts. That's the real work.
Yeah. And getting friends like your best friends or your family, they're like your harshest critics and your biggest supporters. And but it's like pulling teeth to get a review from them.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Yeah.
You got any teeth left? I had to get a whole bunch of fake teeth.
Yeah, I got relatives who still haven't read the book yet. And it's been almost 10 years.
Exactly. And so, despite all that, you have been, by any measure, you are now a best selling author. Is that crazy? Does that freak you out sometimes?
I wouldn't say it freaks me out. It's just kind of like, wow, I actually did this thing with the help of other folks who actually believed in me enough to say, hey, like I'll go ahead and buy a book. I'll spend the 99 cents pre-order, whatever, like support you and whatnot. Like, hey,
Yeah.
a Reese cup costs more than this. Like, I'll support you. Like, all right.
There you go. So, one of the reasons I brought you on the show is because you've always got what we in my circles we call it a PMA, positive mental attitude, and you're the kind of guy who just keeps going forward, looking straight down the line, pasting a smile on your face, regardless how you feel, and you march to the drumbeat that you're hearing, which is telling you, "Hey, man, smack a smile on it, and let's keep going." How do you do that?
Yeah, usually I try to keep positive thoughts at the forefront of my mind, and kind of like that the start of the conversation with that good old rave method, where that was actually in that good old year of August when I finally figured out, okay, I got an acrostic to share with other people. Like, hey, that reading, that audio immersion, that visual stimulation,
Hmm.
encouragement, like encouraging myself and other people. Like, it's something that I truly live and believe. It's something that I've not only done in the past, but still do today. And that's probably one of the best reasons why my book Stay the Course, the follow up to Going North, became a bestseller because those who know me, like, hey, I'm just the authentic dude who's really just gonna put my real self in front of you. Some
Yeah.
days it's like, hey, even though I'll still smile, in the inside I may not feel as strong as I usually do, depending on the situation. There may be some behind the scenes stuff like caregiving and grief and things like that, but I still keep a positive thought at the forefront of my mind because the thing is, I usually like to really set the tone the night before where I basically put on like maybe one of those wonderful guided meditations, something like easygoing, some smooth jazz, whatever, some positive affirmations these days. And when I wake up, put on something more motivational. Like I'm still a Grant Cardone fan with some of his motivational speeches, like John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, the late great Zig Ziglar, like Brian Tracy, even Eric Thomas, and even every now and then, like I'll play an old speech I gave in a Toastmasters club that actually enjoyed hearing, where it's like, okay, like there's some growth that's happening here. Like I can be my own motivational speaker every now and then because we always need reminders, like the classic saying that Zig Ziglar would say, like, hey, like motivation is like bathing. We need to do it daily. And that's the
Hmm.
major key is that we have to remind ourselves daily because we have thousands of thoughts a day and there's plenty that we forget. But
Yeah.
remembering our greatness should not be the ones that we should never forget. So always keeping that at the forefront of my mind is like, hey, even though you may not feel great, there's still times when you can play back those great memories that you've done in the past, that you've done great things before. And if you're alive, you can still do greater things in the future.
I think one of the things about speaking too that becomes really an essential component is you like have to be able to manufacture your way to your A game because you cannot go on the stage and deliver a B minus because people will remember that forever and you will not have delivered what your customers create in their own expectations. They're looking for A plus. So you kind of gotta be in one sense, you kind of got to be the elite performer. What are the keys that you use to make sure that you're always delivering that A plus performance?
Powerful question. I love the way you worded it, like manufacture your A game. You gotta like write that down to put on a future
Yeah.
book or blog if it ain't down already, man.
Yeah.
That's freaking great.
You do. I mean, some people would say fake it till you make it. I don't think you can
Hmm.
fake it. You can never, if you're on a stage, they ain't no faking it anymore. It's always, I mean, if transparency fosters credibility, then we have to be transparent, but we got to manufacture our A plus transparent game too, you know?
You were so right indeed, because the authenticity antennas are high these days. Like folks can
Yeah,
see BS a mile away, and with the power of all the stuff that's out there technology wise, and just some folks being burned in the past, it's like, yeah, yeah, we can see through you, buddy. Like we can
yeah,
sense it now a lot quicker than what we could 10, 20 years ago. So yeah, you have to really be the real deal. Folks don't want metaphorical pleather jackets these days.
yeah. Well, and you got about 10 seconds after you get on stage, and if they start looking at your phones, you lost them already. So
Yeah.
you don't have very long. You do
Yeah.
not have very long. There's always something more interesting sitting on the phone, right? Within reach of them. My fault for helping make 5G a reality in America, but nevertheless, you got 10 seconds.
You're so right indeed. Well,
Yeah.
hey, back
So
to your
yeah, the
oh,
question: what are the keys you have to becoming such an elite repeat performer, man?
sure thing. I'll put in a wonderful acrostic for you. Got acrostics for days. This one is
Love
called
them.
Mitch. So if there's any listeners named Mitch out there, congratulations. This one's for you, buddy. And the M in Mitch stands for mental awareness, like being aware of what's going on in your mind, like kind of like the brain care theme of really just keeping that positive mental attitude, like keeping things
Mm.
at the forefront that's going to help you to, in the words of the great Jim Tracy just mentioned, like, hey, manufacture your A game. Like, dude, that might be the title of the episode, how to manufacture your A game. Like,
There you
hey,
go.
like you just gotta have that mindset right. Like that, there's a reason why that was a buzzword for so many years, because really that's where a lot of it starts. It begins
Mm.
within, especially in your mind.
Yeah.
The I in Mitch stands for influence awareness, being aware of what is around you in your environment, because whatever is in your environment, if you stay around it long enough, is going to influence you in certain ways.
Hmm.
One of the major things that stuck out to me, especially years ago, in my grade school days, that I was really a husky kid for the majority of my growing up years, from basically 0 to almost, I'd say, 15. Because the thing was, like, I became friends with skinny guys who were athletes. I eventually lost a bunch of weight come my 10th grade year. I basically walked back and forth during the summer on my lunch breaks when I had a part-time job at the library at the time, during my lunch breaks, and all that sweating just melted the pounds away. And I kept that weight off for so many years, and it's because basically I was dedicated to bettering myself and had the right circle of influence around me. And then the T in Mitch, that stands for time awareness. Now, granted, folks may think of time management, but when it comes to time awareness, it's really being aware of where your time goes. Because, truth be told, time management is truly attention management. You have to manage your attention. Kind of like what you mentioned earlier, Jim, about like, hey, that first 10 seconds, if you ain't got the audience hooked, they're going to be on their phones. Like, the distraction slabs are built to distract us here. Like, smartphones are
Yeah.
built to distract us. So it's like, hey, that time awareness, like your attention awareness, like you have to be aware of what's taking your attention. You have to be aware of where you're giving your attention
Mm.
to, because that's probably the highest and most valuable currency these days, is attention, still to this day.
Yeah.
Because if you're on social media long enough, depending on which platform you're on, a lot of folks will repeat content over and over again that was shared by somebody else that got popular, because they too want to get some attention too, and eventually hopefully some ad spend revenue bucks coming their way. So basically, time awareness. And the two more to complete the acrostic, the C is for connection awareness, making sure you always connect with wonderful folks, like the wonderful website known as Podmatch that help Jim and I to connect with each other, and grateful for that app today, because like just great, just being able to guest on great shows like the Grampian just came from being in the right place to connect with the right people, like having that Wi-Fi signal open to connect with other wonderful people. Always have that open. And the thumb to close it all together to complete the Mitch hand is habit awareness. Your habits today determine your future for tomorrow, because whatever you do repeatedly, you'll eventually become. And one of the major habits that I basically had to change was basically focusing on getting better sleep, because I've noticed that on days when I didn't get at least a good 6 hours, like I would be extra cranky around people and kind of a little short with people. And I basically had to make sure, like, hey, like on days when, like most days, at least get my good 6 hours, preferably 7 to 8 if possible.
Hmm.
I'm currently caregiving for an elderly person who is not at their best at the moment, so that may be a little bit more difficult these days given the circumstances of returning the favor for 9 months of rent. But hey, like getting that sleep is definitely important. It's just one of many habits that I had to change. So mental awareness, influence awareness, time awareness, connection awareness, and habit awareness.
All right. Good on you, man. I love acrostics. And thank you for creating an example of even for millennials that can care for older folks. Like, I mean, for speaking for the Medicare set, thank you so much.
Medicare set.
They used to call us boomers. Now we're just liabilities.
Well, let's not go that
So,
far.
um, you have a fantastic podcast that I mean it kind of follows the book in that you talk about going north and now your podcast is going north. Why going north?
Yes, going north. It started off as a joke one day when I was running late for work back in the day before I realized that time management was a thing. And following behind one day, and a coworker was like, "Hey, Dom, how's it going?" And I was like, "I'm going north." And a colleague of mine who was just at her desk checking email just busted out laughing when she heard me talk. It said that reaction because, like most folks, don't even think when they ask you how's it going or how you're doing, and it
Yeah,
just made her pause for a moment. Like, you know what? That's freaking hilarious.
yeah.
And that joke really became the podcast, the book, a whole brand because it's really all about going up in your life, advancing
Hmm.
others to advance yourself, advancing yourself in the process, always focusing on the good, taking things to the top as far as you can go for the good of yourself and other people, and really just embracing your dreams and helping others to embrace them as well. So going north is really about going up in your life and helping others to do just that, and just really just embracing those wonderful experiences that you have, and never knowing how that can become a brand down the road for you.
Right on. So, have you always? I mean, you were in Toastmasters, fairly young, and have you always been an extrovert? I mean, you're so comfortable on camera, you're so comfortable on the stage. Would you consider yourself an extrovert?
I wouldn't consider myself an extrovert. Granted, some folks around me be like, "You're not a extrovert." I'm like, "Nah, I'm more of an ambivert. I'm the best of both worlds. Some days I'm more extroverted than not, especially if it's in a environment I'm comfortable in, and some
Yeah,
days where it's like, up, I think I'm better out people a lot. The battery's starting to go down a bit. I have to go and chill in a metaphorical turtle shell. So
yeah.
I'm
Tap
basically an
out a little
ambivert."
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what advice then do you have for someone who might be introverted, who might want to come out of that shell and do it on a basis that exudes the natural way that you come across?
Yes, definitely joining Toastmasters. Like that is a low cost investment for
Yeah.
really just your personal development, your personal growth, because it's like probably what $120 a year these days. Every 6 months, pay $60. You're in a room with like maybe 10 to 30 people, if that, where they all have the same goal of bettering themselves.
Hmm.
And joining Toastmasters really helped me to have a sandbox, not just for leadership and public speaking, but also really just self development. Because in that environment, I had to really get out of my comfort zone, especially since at the time, Sir, I joined when I was 21.
Mm,
And that was about 2 years in when I eventually wrote that book afterwards. And the average member, last I checked the statistics of Toastmasters, they're 35 years plus. So
yeah.
on it, most likely being the youngest guy in the room all the
Yeah.
time, and really basically my whole life since I'm also the baby in my family too. It's like, hey, being able to communicate with folks across separate generations really helped me to up my game as a communicator and really break out of my shell because it helped me to force me to put myself out there, especially in the different levels of leadership in Toastmasters, where I became division governor and area governor and overseeing separate clubs in separate areas, especially outside of my regular zip code, like meeting with different folks in different communities, being able to communicate with them, learning from them, and chatting with them, sometimes breaking bread with them. Like they would have like meeting at Chili's or a random restaurant after a meeting, just chatting with them, seeing how they're doing, just learning about them really broke me out of my shell. And I
Yeah.
was all about that growth. So really, if you make growth your objective, then you could basically break out of any show that you choose to be in.
Yeah. And then you take that and you roll that into next level. And next level to you now you develop this new thing called a podcast. And you're like 850 episodes or some crazy number into podcasting. Dude. What are you thinking? That is awesome. Well, how did you get such an early pulse that podcasting was going to be where America gets their information, even the world?
Yeah, definitely. I just got to thank God for like giving me the wherewithal to have the right time, because it was 2017 when I started my show, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Like every successful person, they basically had a bunch of failures to get that success. Like
Mm,
LeBron James today, that 20 plus years of success he has on the court, like that was physically gifted to do that, but he does things to really keep himself at that level. Like you got to do things to keep yourself at that level. And my
yeah.
podcast was originally going to be the Mr. Music and Reads podcast as a way to promote my book Going North, and basically rambling the mic every week and just see where I go with it. But I had a coaching buddy of mine at the time where she was like, "Hey, I'm glad you're starting the show and a podcast and everything, but it's like maybe you should call it the Going North podcast because you already got your brand here. The book's Going North.
Right.
You always say Going North. Like, why don't you just stick with that?" And she was right, because almost 8 years in the game later, like I'm still going close to 1,000 episodes come
Wow.
September at this point. All
Wow.
because really, when I stick my teeth into something, I really like to stay disciplined and really stick with it. And it, I didn't think I'd be doing it for 8 years and launching at least 3 episodes a week and talking to different authors all over the world, and talking even to some folks I saw on TV growing up, being able to be side to side with them on a Zoom camera, just interviewing them and talking like I'm a darn journalist or whatever, asking these great questions, and they're actually enjoying chatting with me because I'm actually interested and curious about them. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a huge honor. I like to jokingly say, if you're running an interview based show, podcasting's one heck of a drug.
you know, um, Too, I know that podcasting not only introduces you to people, but memorable people have something to contribute because you get like I said on the intro, celebrities. I had talked to a lot of pilots. They're so cool. Authors, speakers, personalities. I guess personalities is the biggest thing, and you learn so much from them. Give us some examples of some life lessons that you've picked up from your podcast, from Going North, maybe.
Yep, sure thing. Like I got to write a book just on the lessons learned, but one of them to this day that still sticks out to me. I forgot the episode number. It's been hundreds ago, but an episode with Sam Leibowitz. I believe he's the conscious coach, if I'm not mistaken, and he has an activity called a victory log where he helps his patients to, or not patients, his clients to get more
Clients, yeah.
confidence.
Sometimes the same thing.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you gotta be patient with yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
But yeah, the victory log, like especially during the pandemic, in that good old
Mm,
2020 year, like gratitude was a thing that was going around with a lot of folks. Like, hey, if you want to get your mind off of the craziness that's going on, hopefully, like you didn't lose any relatives or whatever. Like, hey, maybe just writing down 3 things you're grateful for. And
mm,
some folks, even at a colleague of mine, was like, man, I mean, it's good and all. I'm kind of tired of gratitude. And I'm like, man,
yeah,
how about you just go ahead and reframe into a victory log, write down your wins for the day, and
yeah,
just really create that journal of proof to where after 90 days you can just look back on it and just really count all your victories of the times that you won. They could be big or small, whether it's like, hey, you woke up today, that's a win. Like read 10 pages in the book, that's a win. Got to work on time, that's a win within itself. Like, hey, for
Yeah.
me, getting an interview on Jim Tracy's show, The Grampian, that's a huge win for me that I get to mark down later in my victory log. Like really just writing down those victories and just really going back and reflecting on them and being like, hey, this is a lot of things that I've completed. Like I've done a lot, and
Yeah.
it's more important with the aging that I'm learning these days because time flies. Period. It used to be where folks would say time flies when you're having fun. I'm like, no, time just flies. Period. You have no
Yeah.
choice. Do
It
something.
does not pay any attention to whether you want it to fly or not. Yeah. You are
Yeah.
so right. You are so right, man. So where were you when COVID hit? I mean, what part of the world are you in?
Still in the land of charming crab cakes, Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore, Maryland. Some of my favorite people live in Baltimore. So, but what was it like going through? Um, I mean, I don't even like calling it a pandemic anymore. It was a bad cold. It was the flu. It was like it's just like yeah, it was societally bad. But how'd you get through it, man?
Yeah, funny enough, I got back into gaming because the thing was, day job, work as a full time librarian, and we basically were lucky enough to be able to work from home to where we were actually able to pivot back when folks enjoyed hearing that word for a couple months, and we
Hmm.
basically extended our Wi Fi zone to cover the whole entire parking lot to where it's like, hey, if you can't be in the building to use our computers, if you have a device of your own, you can at least hop onto the parking lot if you want to be outside and social distance safely and just use our Wi-Fi from the parking lot. We've
Yeah.
also, at the time, right before it started, we had at least 50 Wi-Fi hotspots to where it's like, hey, if you're one of those lucky 50 folks, you're able to check out a Wi-Fi hotspot and basically do your internet stuff at home without having to pay for internet because that's the other thing too. That became a main required resource for people during that time
Oh
if you were
yeah.
able to work from home and work remotely. And we
Lifeline.
also even became a spot for a drop off point for families, especially kids who wanted free meals because during the school year, especially in the community that we
Hmm.
were in, like a lot of the kids, their lunches would be, or should I say, the only meal they would get a day would be at school during school lunches. So we were able
Mm.
to distribute meals, free meals for the kids at that time, and just doing all of that, like answering queries. And with myself, the podcast also exploded because when the day job hours were
Yeah.
done, I basically got to interview more people and network with people all over the darn globe, even Australia, 12 hours away. Like it didn't matter because every day felt like the same day at that time.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
I made out okay. Like, most of my family stayed alive to my knowledge. Like, we only had one tragic death, but that was like a week before the lockdowns began.
Hmm.
So, it was a tough loss, especially for my mother, because that was her close friend who she knew since like second grade,
Yeah.
and but that she passed away from something else. It wasn't even the COVID. It was more of the
Yeah.
like we just had to have a small service at the cemetery with only like 7 people safely distanced from each other. Like that was probably the saddest part of the whole thing. But yeah, like overall, like it was a sad time for a lot, but I was blessed to make it out okay with
Yeah.
better than expected.
It sounds like you just did whatever it took to keep rolling, man. I'm so impressed by people who said, you know what, the bad stuff might happen, but you're not gonna impede my progress. So, like, I'm going. Try and stay with me, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So, what tips would you give to somebody who wanted to start a podcast? It's an awful crowded field these days, and if you're not if you don't know what you're doing, I mean, my message is it's okay. Go figure out what you're going to do. And it's going to be a lot of fun anyway. And you're going to learn so much from other people. What advice would you give to somebody starting out a podcast?
Great question. And it may feel saturated where it's like, oh my gosh, everybody's got a podcast these days. And it's like, no, actually, no, everybody doesn't have a podcast. I think last I checked, we have maybe what, 3.5 million podcasts, but maybe what, 800,000 to maybe a million of them are actually active because a
Maybe.
lot of them, yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's a big Maybe like there's a lot more YouTube channels out there than podcasts these days.
Yeah,
Like the market's not saturated. Don't be afraid to start. That's definitely
yeah,
one. Don't be afraid to start. Number two, set yourself up a foundation for success. The reason why I'm basically closing in on 1,000+ official episodes is because I basically pre-recorded my episodes a month in advance before my launch day. I had about 10 episodes recorded. Launch day, I dropped six, and then once a week, back when I was only doing one episode a week, I was set for one episode to drop per week afterwards.
yeah,
And also, not only that, I had a network of folks that I've connected with through Toastmasters, through the day job, through just networking as an entrepreneur, like fellow writers and things like that, and people who knew people. So I had the network and did enough reading and research to where it was like, hey, let me just go ahead and start with what I have. And I say the third thing would be to basically have fun. Like always have fun with what you're doing, especially like Jim, I could tell you're a great human being because you're having fun with this. We could tell you really enjoy what you're doing when you're chatting with people. And folks can
yeah,
really tell and feel that. And with the
yeah,
way things are today, depending on whatever podcast you start, like, hey, have a little fun with it because folks don't want to be feeling down all the time. Some folks need
yeah.
just a little escape from reality or just something to help cheer them up. So remember to have fun while you're doing it too.
Yeah, and do some preparation. Be disciplined about your preparation and your execution. If you're not consistent with your podcast, I went through a time where I was like, yeah, maybe not doing this week. It's like
Yep.
so much going on. I'm just going to skip a week. And and my producer came to me. He's like, if you don't do that, people will think you lied to them. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of like way too personal.
Right?
But I'm not lying to you. You really just need to be consistent, and that's just discipline to make sure that you're out doing the research and making sure pre-interviewing guests. And you and I had chatted before this, and we decided, hey man, this would be a good idea. You'd be a lot of fun having a podcast. I love your smile and love your message. And there's just not much I don't love about Dom Brightmon, folks. So we have one question. Yeah, we asked folks. You, even as a millennial, have already lived a significantly big life, man. And you owe some people for that because they were the champions who brought you along and affected your journey in such a big way that you now have to stop and give them a few props. Who would that be?
Oh, that's a long list. My God. All right. Both my
I know,
parents,
but
that's
you
the
only
easy
get
one.
one.
I'll only get one. All right, cool. All right. Oh, shoot. Wow. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say my mom, Ella Brightman. She's still
Mm,
alive to this day. She's 85. Great woman. My first ever coach when it came to speaking and communicating. Like when it came time to recite Bible verses every Sunday, I made sure I had one ready. And like when it came time to do plays and things in church, especially in my teenage years when the voice came in and just having that encouragement, like definitely my mom. Like, of
all
course, I
right.
would thank my dad too, but he's sadly no longer with us in human form anyway. He passed away about 8 years ago at the time of this recording, and
I'm sorry
he's a
for that.
great role
That's never
model
gets a
too.
lot
So
easier, man. But
yeah.
good on you, Ella Brightman. We are proud of you to be the champion in the life of Dom and helping him get along. And so here's kudos to Ella. All right. Any closing advice for our audience, bud?
Definitely. Definitely. Like closing thoughts, like, hey, never give up on what you're doing. Like when you start and set your mind on something, never really give up on what you're doing. And to really make sure that you don't, write down what you're looking to do, write down your goals every single day. Like if you got a to-do list, like, hey, set it for like a week in advance. Like what I've been doing recently to really keep myself focused is that I have a list called 10 goals in 10 days. Like in 10 days, I want to make sure I have at least 10 of these done and then just break them down into whatever needs to be done to get those 10 things done. Like, hey, I need to have these episodes edited by this time. Like, I got to make sure these 6 episodes are ready to go over the next 2 weeks. Like, these pages done with the next book I'm writing. Like, just 10 goals in 10 days to help you keep yourself focused on what you need to complete. So, never give
Right
up
on.
and write your goals down.
Right on. Dom Brightman, thank you so much for coming on the Grampian podcast. And hey, Grampian Nation, you keep dreaming those Grampian dreams. Until next time, this is Jim, and I am out. When you get an opportunity, subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast.